MC for the night. First speaking, we will have Elaine Mastromatteo from the Green Party.
Okay, if I stand here, can you hear me? Okay, great. I am Elaine Mastromatteo, and I'm from the Green Party. And in this campaign, I'm going to talk about the things that I know we could have in Ohio. I know we can have them because they've been successful in other societies and other countries. We could have health care for everyone and save $400 billion a year just by cutting out insurance company profits. We can have a safe environment and jobs that provide a living wage while still promoting industry. Yes, we can. We can have affordable education that prepares the young people of Ohio for a challenging future. We can have reliable, sustainable energy without fossil fuel. It's been done. It's being done right now. We can have a home rule system that puts control of local communities in the hands of the people who live there, like the trustees here tonight. And we can legalize marijuana. We have the farmland to grow it. We have the people who want to work in the medical system to deliver it. Now, my mom's got Alzheimer's, and it could really improve her quality of life, along with the little girl who gets 300 seizures a day, or the guy who's trying to quit cigarettes, or the veteran with PTSD. My mom could use this. This would really improve her quality of life, but she can't have it. She can't have that. You can't have any of the other stuff on here, even though it's been tried, even though we know it works. Why? Because we have a corrupt political apparatus dominated by two major parties that have both been infiltrated, controlled, and funded by the very forces they were meant to regulate. I and the Green Party want to change that. We don't take corporate donations. And we can't let these two parties control the entire electoral process when most voters consider themselves independent. But they don't have a say in anything. Not in your boards of elections, not in your Secretary of State's office. Everything, the votes are counted by Democrats and Republicans and independents, and third-party voters are cut out of that entire process. And we want to change that, but we can't change anything until you change the way you vote. So pick up a Green Party ballot, write in my candidate's name, see me afterwards, I'll give you a card, I'll tell you who they are. And we can build a third party with enough momentum to speak for the people against this corrupt system that is not working for us. So I urge you, my name is Elaine Mastromatteo, I am from the Green Party. Join me in changing the way the electoral process works in Ohio. Send me to the State House, and I will legislate for you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Next, we will have Democrat Michael J. O'Brien.
Thank you very much. I'm Michael O'Brien, and I'm a Democrat. First of all, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the father of three. I started in the beginning. I graduated from Youngstown State University, and my first job was a corrections officer for the Warren Police Department. I worked there 3 years, and just like any vocation, I started at the bottom. I was a precinct committee person. After 2 years, I ran for 4th Ward councilman in the city of Warren on the east side, and I was elected. I served 3 terms, ran for council at large throughout the city, and was elected. I served 3 terms. Ran for county commissioner, and I was elected. Served 3 terms. Ran for mayor of the city of Warren, and I was elected and re-elected. I'm very proud of my 30 years of public service as an elected official. Very proud of the fact that I've received endorsements from the United Auto Workers, steel workers, operating engineers, plumbers, pipe fitters. However, the endorsement I've received for the last 30 years was the endorsement of the voters, and I'm very proud of that. I make no mistake, and I have no problem saying that I've been an elected official for 30 years. But I consider myself a public servant. I've been retired for 2 years, but at the same time, I've been presently chairman of the board of directors of Trumbull Memorial Hospital, past chairman of the United Way, chairman of the Valley Counseling Foundation, the commander of the Sons of the American Legion, Trumbull County Historical Society. So my point is, I'm still serving in public as retired. The present state representative, Tom Letson, of the 64th District, is only permitted to run for 4 terms as state law in Ohio. He's term limited out. The seat is open, and I found that in my years of public service, I'm able to give back to the community. I feel that I will hit the ground running as a public official, again, as a state representative in the 64th District, be a strong voice and a strong advocate for the people of Trumbull County in my particular district. I'm very familiar with the state laws, the federal laws, and I was one of the only 2 officials in the state of Ohio that was appointed by Governor Strickland and Governor Casey to serve on the Criminal Sentencing Commission at the Supreme Court. I'm very proud of my record of service, and I'd love to be your public official again in the 64th District State Representative. Thank you.
I'm going to interrupt this for just 1 second to make a shameless plug. We still have government students at the concession stand selling coffee, water, cookies. Just a shameless plug.
Next, we will have Martha Yoder speaking on behalf of Randy Law.
Good evening. Randy had a business trip and was unable to be here tonight, so he's written a letter for me to read. I'm Randy Law, and I'm running for state representative in the 64th District. I'm a business owner and lifelong resident of the city of Warren. In 2005-2006, I served as state representative for the 64th District. During my term, I voted for the largest tax cut in state history and also sponsored the landfill reform bill as well as the firefighter safety training bill. I was able to work with the majority in Columbus to bring back grants and dollars into our local communities. I have a good history of being able to serve in the majority and work with officials on both sides of the aisle locally to benefit our district and our local communities. If I am elected, I will work on making sure Ohio continues to improve its tax structure to make us a better place to locate and create jobs. I will make sure we are well represented in Columbus to ensure that our area is always in the best position to maximize our economic opportunities now and in the future with the gas and shale industry. The current consent decree with the Board of Health and EPA has created an intolerable position where residents of Trumbull County are treated differently than the rest of the state when it comes to the septic rules. I will work with the majority in Columbus to remedy this situation so that Trumbull County residents are treated fairly in comparison to other counties. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Randy Law.
Thank you. Next, we have another Democrat, Ken McPherson.
Very good. This is a great evening. Young people and the community coming together to talk about issues and candidates. My name's Ken McPherson. I'm a candidate for the 64th District. Let me tell you a little bit about myself and then why my wife and our family decided it was time for me to run for public office and service. I grew up in Howland Township and graduated from there. Went to Case Western Reserve up in Cleveland, got a degree in science and engineering. Been around the world a few times, started a business or two, and now I think it's time to get into politics. I want to be a politician. I guess that means I have to make a promise, but I only make one promise. It's the only promise I can keep. That's to work harder at this job than any job I've ever had in the private sector. To be that first person in the morning, the last person out at night, stay up and read the things that nobody else wants to read, all those nitty-gritty details, to go fight with the bureaucrats, the lobbyists, and the bad guys, to maybe, just maybe, make a little bit better bills, a little bit better laws for the future of our children, our communities, our townships. We have a lot of issues, complex issues facing Ohio, and as your representative, I've got an extensive background in problem-solving complex issues for large companies. And I think that that background of working with multiple parties, diverse politics, institutions that are baked in the way they do things, I've got experience in breaking through those, working across boundaries, and be able to drive solutions. But let me talk about what I believe in for a minute. I believe that all of our lives are a gift. I believe I've been blessed with a great many things, and I'm truly thankful for everything. I believe that we're naturally good and that we're our brother's keeper. And there's something inside me that drives me to help people with no expectation of reward or payment. I'm passionate about fighting for the weak. I'm dedicated to the truth and doing the righteous things, even when I means I stand alone. Every day I wake and ask myself, why am I running for this office? And the answer I keep hearing back is to make the world a better place. Take, for example, fighting for the little person, the septic issue. This is a main issue, one of the main reasons why I got into the campaign, and it's one of the things that I'm going to go fight for, the little guy. During the campaign, I've given out bags of coffee from a local business in Warren. It's a show of support for small business and jobs. A little over 40 years ago, my father got a job at American Welding. Many of us, pretty much all of us, are here because of jobs. And that's my main goal, is to drive job growth and do whatever I can do to remedy that situation. If you want somebody who's dedicated to helping people, hardworking, the person that stays up all night reading the stuff nobody wants to read, to confront the difficult circumstances facing the state of Ohio, may I ask for consideration as the ideal candidate for the Democratic Party, 64th District. Together, we can make a difference.
Thank you. Next, we have questions that are open to all candidates. What is your plan to better fund our public school systems?
They're handing the microphone to me. Well, first of all, it's ironic we're in a school setting. As everyone here realizes, the present funding for schools is unconstitutional, deemed by the Supreme Court. And I've talked to representatives from the Ohio Education Association, talked to union leaders in education, and feel that they have presently, at least the people that I've talked to, they lack consensus on present school, or their thoughts on school funding. Whether it be based on property taxes solely, but I do know that, and I'll say this, that in public education, and I've said this in newspapers, that part of the problem with school funding is the charter schools. I feel that the charter schools are hurting public education. I'm opposed to funds from the state going to charter schools, and I feel that the charter schools are eroding the foundation of financing public education, and I feel that for every student that leaves a public school and goes to charter school, the $7,500 goes with them, and I feel that that is causing an issue with public education. How to remedy the entire system of public education. I'm open to suggestions from the Ohio Education Association, the unions, the other government officials, and of course, in concurring with the Supreme Court, the present situation is unconstitutional. But I don't have a wand to change that, and I'm interested in, if my opponents do, I would be very interested to see what their thoughts on that are. Thank you.
I would actually agree that the charter schools are hurting public education. I'm a proud recipient of a public high school education, and that's as far as I've ever gone, but it did prepare me to go to college. I think that, obviously, the balanced budget that the case that brags about has been balanced on the backs of the schools and the communities, the libraries, the municipalities, the trustees. If we put education as a priority
and made sure that our legislatures in Columbus knew that this is something that we wouldn't tolerate anymore, an unconstitutional system, I think they'd find a way. I think it also has to do with fair distribution of, yes, that awful word, taxes. We have to find a way to dedicate more revenue to schools, and we have to find a mindset and the will to do it. Leaving this unconstitutional this long, it's really hurt our schools, it's hurt our teachers. We have to respect the education that the teachers provide. We have to give the kids a better start, because one thing I know that employers want when they come here to Ohio is employees that know how to work. So I would definitely say that those counties that have the money, those businesses that have the money, those people that have the money, they need to share. We need to take care of each other, and we need to spread out the revenue evenly, and we need to stop balancing the budget and having a rainy day $1 million fund, and yet our kids can't afford lunch. So a little more compassionate approach would be something that I would advocate for.
Lord Acton said, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the problem we have down in Columbus is a 2-to-1 margin in the House, 40% plus in the Senate, and 100% Republican in the executive branch. So it makes it difficult any reasonable idea you bring to the table. What we look at is then having to work with them, work through their committees, their control. I think that the way I would go about doing that is to, again, come to them and say, do you really want your communities to be able to have to pay another 25% more with the new tax cut they gave for the income tax? They took away the property tax copay. In '72, when they passed the income tax, they passed it on the back of communities like Northeast Ohio, Trumbull County, Warren, Youngstown. We were big job, big income. We didn't want our money going down to Columbus and not getting any of it back. So the deal was cut. They would pay 25% of our property taxes, so we would be assured that that money would come back to our communities. The Republicans have eviscerated this return of our tax money back, and now we have to pick up that 25% ourselves as going forward on all new levies. I would work diligently to get them to recognize this is a flaw and that they have to return that money back to the communities. The income taxes that we paid from this area, the additional taxes they're going to try to get out of oil and gas, that money should stay here, and the money we've already paid as an annuity should also come back. But that's going to be a difficult job to fight an uphill battle.
Another question that is open to all candidates. The current state administration and legislative have been cutting funding to our local and county governments. As a state legislator, how are you going to ensure that our tax dollars stay in our local community instead of funding the state's bureaucracy?
I'll take that one first. Yeah, I mentioned home rule. This is something that was taken away from us, and we need to get it back, because we have all these distant people. They think they know what we need, but they don't. Communities should have control of the schools. We shouldn't have unfunded federal mandates. That's it. That's all I have to say. There you go.
Yeah, this is the same question with the schools, right? Same issue. So I kind of answered some of it. The unfunded mandates are critical to school districts that we've talked about. They probably the unsung heroes are Board of Education members, where they have to take the brunt of the blame for everything, and they have virtually no power to conduct any amount of rules or the way they run their school districts. Same thing's true coming down with townships. There's a lot of unfunded, particularly if you look at the equation with the fuel surcharge tax. At least that's in appropriations based on road miles and population. But we need to look at formulas like that. And I think given the fact that a large portion of the state is geographically diverse, like this district, we have to look at novel ways to hopefully get the Republicans to insert some of these ideas for formula-based funding to drive back to the localities, townships, cities, counties. That would be probably my first thing, is to look at formula-based funding based on constituency, roads, and need.
You know, I'm a former councilman, former county commissioner, former mayor. You know, years ago, local government fund, basically the money that people pay state taxes, goes to Columbus and it goes back to the taxpayers of the district, whether it be cities, counties, and townships. Using Warren as an example, in the about 2008, 2009, the city of Warren from local government funds would receive $2 million from the state. Presently, the city of Warren receives about $500,000, so they're short $1.5 million. The city of Warren used to receive $500,000 annually from inheritance funds. The city of Warren receives nothing now for inheritance funds. So you add 1.5 million and 500,000, $2 million. So how's the city supposed to balance that budget? The only way you can balance it is by cutting. Now, look at the budget. 97% of any city's budget, general fund budget, is police and fire. So you have to cut your safety forces to balance the budget. At the same time, now that's not bad enough, at the same time the state of Ohio is sitting on a $4 billion, that's B as in boy, $4 billion rainy day fund. $4 billion rainy day fund on the backs of the townships, on the backs of the county, on the backs of the city, and on the backs of the schools. Now, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Green Party, Communist Party, whatever party you belong to, you have constituents in your district in Ohio. Those constituents, those townships in all 88 counties are suffering because of loss of local government fund. It's hurt Southington, it's hurt Farmington, it's hurt Bristol, it's hurt every township, not just in the county, but in the state. And all the state representatives got to be hearing it, surround sound from their local officials. That's what needs to be, we build consensus through the bottom up.
Another open question for all candidates. Do you support an Article 5 convention of the states to purpose amendments to the Constitution that would limit the power of the federal government?
Repeat that first part again, please. I'm sorry.
Do you support an Article 5 convention of the states to purpose amendments to the Constitution that would limit the power of the federal government?
Article 5, I assume that's from the U.S. Constitution, and it's I assume the clause for constitutional convention, the call for constitutional convention. And I would be diametrically opposed to any constitutional convention call.
Opposed?
Yeah, I'd probably say the same thing. I don't care for federal power, and I definitely think that one of the main things that I like about the Green Party is that we call for decentralization of government, which means not having a big, faraway power over the local communities. We definitely should try to bring power back to our local communities, but I'm not sure that's the way.
Thank you.